I booked the compartment next to hers. A vanished calendar alert put me on the night train. Overnight strategy session, depart 2010, return 0745. It blinked on our shared account for 5 minutes, then disappeared the way a guilty look does. At the same time, Find My showed Mara's phone near Central Station, not the restaurant where she'd said the client dinner would be. I told myself there were explanations. Then I bought a ticket. I design museum exhibits, which means my instincts run toward arranging evidence, not brandishing it. I asked the clerk for a berth near compartment 14 in coach C without knowing why. "15's free," she said. "Next door." It felt like fate pretending to be a train schedule. On the platform, the city loosened its tie. At 20:02, Mara came through the doors, hair up, coat folded over her arm, pulling our small silver suitcase. A man walked half a step behind her. Tall, charcoal coat, messenger bag like a sash. No touching. The space between them did the work instead. I boarded after them and shut myself into compartment 15. 2 bunks, a fold-out table, a mirror the size of a confession, the air faintly metallic and clean. The wall to my right, thin enough to be honest, was also their left. A conductor poured tea with brisk tenderness. "Dining car till 22:00, he said, "or later if the night behaves." I cupped the tea and listened the way you listen to weather. "At least this time it's a door," the man said, "not the open berths." "Doors aren't absolution," she said. "They're just props." Silence, then paper fussing. The choreography of people pretending a spreadsheet is more interesting than the floodplain it stands in. I stood, paced, sat. I'm good at displays. I'm bad at conclusions. At 21:10, I walked the corridor because motion is a permission slip. A mother built a snack fort for 2 kids. A woman in a red coat murmured apologies to her cat's carrier. The windows returned the dark to itself. Through the little pane in 14's door, I saw Mara standing with the silk scarf I'd recently noticed looped loose and easy. She lifted her hands and let them fall. "I hate this part," she said, "where it's almost a lie." "Almost," he said, soft and dangerous. I went to the dining car because soup gives your hand something to do while your head argues with its instincts. I ate out of duty. At 21:43, Mara slid into the seat across from me because we have a talent for arriving at the same place at inconvenient times. She stared like you stare at a landmark when someone has bolted a new plaque to it. Then she laughed once, small and disbelieving. "Of course," she said. "You." "Hi," I said, and my voice surprised us by sounding like mine. She unwound the scarf and laid it on the table like an object label. "I could explain," she said. "I should tell the truth." "Start there," I said. "It travels lighter." She looked past me at our reflections in the glass, 2 people pretending to be scenery. The team's overnight workshop fell through, but the tickets were non-refundable, she said. We told ourselves we'd use the berths to work anyway. A bargain disguised as a plan. "Liam," I guessed. "We share enough names that colleagues arrive already familiar." She nodded. "He was at the counter getting those little metal cups they pretend bravery comes in. He clocked us at the same moment I clocked him and did the decent thing. He stayed put." "If I hadn't come," I asked, "what would tonight be?" "Almost," she said. The word landed and stayed. "I wanted to know if I could be the kind of person who does this. I wanted to fail at it and call that a virtue." She gave herself a crooked smile. "I wanted to be seen, Daniel." "I see you," I said, and it sounded defensive because I meant it. She shook her head. "Not admired, not rescued," she said. "Seen like a verb. After months of hospitals and HR emails and me narrating our lives while you built models for someone else's gallery, It felt like the first room where I wasn't delivering news. She put her palms flat on the table. That's not an excuse. It's the map. I've built whole exhibitions around one sentence. This one rearranged the furniture of my chest. I was building a show about silence, I said. I thought tidiness was love. We sat while the train skimmed past towns that looked like apologies. Liam passed on his way back, nodded at me with respect and at her with uncertainty, and kept going. Good choreography is mostly knowing where not to stand. "What do you want?" I asked. Curators ask questions expecting to hate the answers and grateful later that they asked. "Not to be punished for stopping at almost," she said. "To be allowed to say, I let danger make me interesting, and to learn why that felt like oxygen." She glanced at my hands. "And to see if we can say the worst things to each other in rooms that don't have witnesses." "Therapists exist," I said. "I meant this booth," she said, "but yes." We took our cups back through the corridor. In the vestibule between 14 and 15, the air did polite circles. "I booked next door," I said, holding up my key. "I didn't know what to do with the knowledge. I just brought it here." "That's your museum brain," she said, with fond exasperation. "You make an exhibit out of suspicion." "I'm trying to do a pop-up instead," I said. We both smiled because we recognized the joke's dialect as ours. Back in 14, Liam had already climbed to the top bunk, headphones on, decency turned up. Mara stepped into 15 with me. We sat on the lower berth with the light off and the corridor glow making maps of our faces. "I'm not a villain," she said into the dark. "I just forgot which door the wind uses." "And you're not a victim," I said. "You're the person who noticed the weather and chose a different route." We didn't turn our night into a movie. We didn't turn our anger into ceremony. We lay down side by side like people who had been awake in the wrong way and let the train move us while we stayed still. I slept in stutters. At 5, she traced my wrist bones with a fingertip like she was learning a familiar word again. "Thank you for showing up," she whispered. "It's settled somewhere good." Morning makes Democrats of us. Bad hair, cardboard coffee, everyone the same species again. Liam gave me a nod that acknowledged both our numbers and our restraint. On the platform, the city pretended to be new. We walked home because taxis felt like lies. At the kitchen table, we did what we've always done when the future feels too abstract. We made a list. 1. No secret calendars. 2. If we want to be witnessed, invite each other first. If that fails, say so plainly. 3. Say the dangerous sentence in daylight. 4. Let almost count in gratitude and as a warning. 5. If work becomes a shelter from us, call it by its name. We found a therapist with kind shoes and no appetite for drama. In that small room, we practiced building sentences that didn't require an audience. I told her how the scarf made me feel redundant. She told me how my laptop made her feel like a courtesy. We apologized like adults, which is to say, we didn't ask the apology to do more than it could. Weeks later, the scarf lived on the back of a chair the way a solved riddle lives on the tongue. Some nights the wall between us and the world still feels thin. I catch myself listening for voices that aren't there. When that happens, I touch her shoulder, a brief, formal correction, and she leans into it the way a dancer trusts a hand. We are practicing the difference between almost and always. I don't pretend the train saved us. It handed us better tools, speed we didn't control, a corridor we had to share, a door that locked only from the inside. What I remember most is the metal cup cooling in her hands, the way she said "seen" like a verb, the way the tracks kept going whether or not we approved. Exhibitions end. So do nights. What matters is whether you leave the room having said the thing your life has been curating behind your back. We watered the plant. We put the list on the fridge. We bought a paper calendar and filled it in with ordinary ink, movie nights and dentist appointments and a weekend away we've promised each other twice already. We are not a new couple. We are the old one with better lighting. I still think about that vanished alert, the way it blinked and then fled. It feels now like an honest mistake with bad timing and excellent instincts. I am trying, in the galleries I design and the rooms where we sleep, to leave fewer exhibits for the future to explain. If I must overhear us again, let it be through a thin wall where the voices are ours and the sentences, finally, belong in daylight.